In this demonstration, we're going to take a look at how to update your collaborative authoring configuration to use the new configuration that no longer requires the use of a service account to connect Vault and SharePoint. So in this scenario, you would already have collaborative authoring set up in Vault, but what we need to do is enable this new option to remove the service account from collaborative authoring configuration. But before we do that in Vault, there are updates that we need to make on the Microsoft side. And so we'll walk through that here today. So first, there are a few updates that we need to make to the API permissions to our existing app registration. So here I'm on my app registration within Intra Admin Center. And if I go to API permissions, you'll see that I have all of these different delegated permissions here. Now these permissions exist because we're using a service account, and that account needs these delegated permissions to be able to perform the necessary actions. But in not using a service account, I can actually add direct application permissions here. So in this, I would click Add Permission. I would choose Microsoft Graph. And again, instead of using delegated permissions, I'm going to be adding application permissions. Now, the most important piece here is the sites.selected permission. So I can search here, and we'll see that that comes up, and I can apply that permission. So if I click Add, we'll see that here. Now, this is important because by removing the service account, we need this application to be able to make changes to our site, and this is going to allow us to be able to do that. Now, if I'm using external collaboration, where Vault is automatically inviting external users to collaborate, then there are a few additional application permissions that I need. So I could click Add Permission here. Again, go to Microsoft Graph and Application Permissions. And I'm going to need 3 permissions here. So first is directory read write all. So I can search here, grab that permission. And then I need 2 user permissions. So I can search here for user. And in the user section here, I need user.invite all. And I need user.read write all. So now I've added in my application permissions here. I could also go ahead and remove my delegated permissions because they're not really going to be used any further. But for the purposes of demonstration here, I'm just going to focus on adding these new permissions. And of course, I do need to grant admin consent here for the new permissions that I've added. So I can click that option to grant that. So now my application here has all the necessary API permissions. But next, we're going to use a PowerShell script to allow us to configure the sites.selected permission, essentially to grant this app access to our SharePoint site. So here I've navigated to our help site because on our help site, we're actually providing PowerShell configuration scripts here to help with the setup process. Now in this, we have a few different files that are available. One that sort of explains how to use the scripts. One called site PNP. This is the one we're going to use here in this demonstration. And then we also have the setup site script as well. But this is more for if I'm setting up a net new SharePoint team site. But in this case, I already have a team site. It's already got all the necessary permissions in terms of the security hardening steps. But what I need to do is make sure that my app can use that site selected permission with my site. So we're going to focus on this script here. So here I can download the zip file. So here I've unzipped that file and you can see the 3 files here, the README, the site PNP script that we're going to use, as well as the site hardening script. Now again, for this demonstration, we're going to use the site PNP, but let's look at our README file first. So the reason I wanted to open this up is because this actually provides a lot of information on how to use these files. I'm going to walk through this here today, but I do want to note that for this script, there are a couple of prerequisites that are required here. So first of all, I need to have PowerShell 7 installed. And then within PowerShell 7, I need to run this command to install the PnP module. As long as I have those two pieces, then it's just a matter of updating the site PnP script and running it. So now let's look at our site PnP script. Now, we've written the script to already take the necessary actions that we need it to do here, but there are going to be some variables in the script that you'll need to fill out. Those are all right at the top here. Now, this script can serve two purposes. It can actually create a net new site, or it can simply update an existing site. Now, in this case, again, we're working from the standpoint of we're already using collaborative authoring. We're just updating to the new configuration. There are actually some variables here that we're just not going to need. So, for instance, I do not need site base URL, site title, owner, or alias, because all of these are really being used by the script to create a new site. But again, in this case, I already have a site, so these aren't going to be necessary. So then that leaves me with a few other items here that I need to fill out. Now first, admin URL is just going to be the URL to the SharePoint Admin Center that I'm using. So if I log into my SharePoint Admin Center, I can simply get to the URL here and grab that. Then we're going to need our tenant URL. We can get this actually through our Intra Admin Center. So if I log into my Intra Admin Center, it's actually this primary domain right here that we need. Then I'm going to need the ID for my application, which again I'll get through Intra. So within Intra Admin Center, if I navigate to the app registration here, I can get my application ID and just copy it right here. Then I'm going to need the display name for the site itself that we're working with. So within SharePoint Admin Center, if I go into Active Sites and go to the site that I have set up, we simply just need this name here. Now I'm going to come back to admin app name in just a second, but while we're in SharePoint, the other thing that we're going to need is our site URL. Now you'll notice here it's referencing a couple of variables that we got rid of, but in this case, because the site already exists, it's actually very easy to get this directly from SharePoint without using these variables. So here again, looking at my site, I can actually just copy the site address right here, and that will be my site URL. All right, so now we have two variables left. We have our admin app name and our Intra ID app. Now these are essentially interchangeable because the first part of the script here is actually going to connect to SharePoint Admin, and it's going to do that through an existing Intra app, or it's going to create a new app. So if we have an existing Intra app, we can put the ID of that here, in which case we don't need admin app name. Now, if we don't have an ID of an existing Intra app to put in here, then we can simply give this a name. So I could call this Mike's admin app. And then in this case, I don't need the Intra ID app variable, so I can remove that. And so what's going to happen is the script is going to recognize that I don't have an Intra ID app, and then it's just going to simply create an app for me using this admin app name. Now, the last thing that we need to do here is there's another part of this script that we don't need. Because we already have a site, we actually don't need this create new site section, right? So this first part under create new site is not necessary. So I can simply remove that from my script as well. So then here I can save this, and now I'm ready to run it in PowerShell. So now I'm logged into PowerShell 7 here, and I've gone ahead and navigated to the folder that my script is in. So then just to run my script, I put in this command and then press enter. Now you'll notice this is going to ask me to choose an admin account here to be able to make these changes. And now it's working through the process here. It has gone ahead and set up the admin app, and now it's going to begin to work through the actual process of making the necessary updates. Now, you'll notice it's actually asking me to authenticate again here, and that's because this script is actually making different changes, and so for every change, we need to use our admin account and grant consent. So you'll see this pops up a few times because it's going to ask for that for a number of different changes that the script is making. And there, once it's complete, we get sort of a success message here, and our setup is done. So back in my vault here, there's one final piece of this, and that is I need to remove the service account from the configuration on the vault side. So if I click Edit here, and then I click the Remove Service Account option, you'll see that field disappears. And then all I need to do is re-input my client secret and authorize. So we see my integration status is verified, and I can click Save. And now my collaborative authoring is using the updated configuration. And what's really great about this as well is this is a one-time thing you're doing on the Microsoft side, and then actually making this update in each of your vaults is very easy. Because we're not going through a service account, we don't need to worry about authenticating through an incognito window and some of the little tips and tricks that have had to be used in the past. We simply just need to input the information here and re-verify. Now, what's nice about this from a Vault standpoint is what we've done here today is a one-time effort on the Microsoft side. Then actually making the change in each of your vaults is very easy. It's checking that box, re-entering the client secret, and re-verifying. There's no need to authenticate with a service account, which oftentimes meant having to either log out of Microsoft with your own account or use an incognito window. You can just simply input the information and verify here. It also makes your sandbox refreshes much simpler as well, because you're simply re-inputting the information here and re-verifying. But again, you're not having to go through this authentication step for the service account.